I think you go into shock about it and you process it. And it's hard to process. It's heavy. A lot of that is heavy.
Hello, you are listening to NPE Stories. This is a podcast where NPEs can share their story. I am your host, Lily, and I found out I was an NPE through an ancestry DNA test that changed my life forever. NPE is a term that stands for Not Parent Expected or Non-Paternal Event. This means that one or more of our parents are not who we believe them to be. NPE Stories is a podcast where NPEs can share their story of what their original family was like, how they found out they were an NPE, and what their journey has been like since the day they found out. Welcome to episode 202. And today I am speaking with Bertrice. Hi, Bertrice.
Hi, how are you, Lily?
I'm good. Thank you so much for doing this in the middle of your busy day. I appreciate this.
I appreciate this too.
Both two moms with a lot of school meetings, as we were talking about earlier. I appreciate what you do. I'm trying to keep you anonymous, but I know you are in education, so it's a busy time of the year at school. So thank you for all the work you do in education.
Well, you're very welcome. And I have to say, for all of us out there who are educators, every day is the busiest day of the year.
Oh, gosh.
It's great work.
Oh, I bet it is. I right now have an elementary school, middle school, and high schooler. So I'm getting all the things, all the apps and emails and newsletters and conferences. Yes.
Man. I mean, that's a job in itself. But your friends must appreciate you because you got all the advice, like on all the levels.
Exactly. I really do.
Like you can like really see the perspective of like what matters probably and what's really like you got to let that go.
Yes, that's exactly where I'm at right now. Well, thank you. I love that perspective. Okay, so let's get into an NPE story today. You found out you were an NPE, I believe, a year or two ago, was it?
All right. You know how how COVID does the number on everyone and like timelines are really foggy.
Oh, right.
Right. No, it was right at the beginning of COVID.
Oh, okay.
It was winter time. I lived in the Northeast. So like when did it come on? Like in the Northeast, do you remember?
Oh, gosh. March 2020, right? For everyone?
2020. I found out like right around then, probably in like April of 2020.
Oh, that must have been terrible. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Let me find out about your family of origin before we get into how you found out. So let's get an idea of what your family of origin was like, Bertrice. A little bit about your childhood. Tell us who was in it and what it was like.
Well, in my family of origin, I live with my mom, and I don't know how to refer to them. And I have this joke with my friends. Okay, I'm going to go off on tangents, and like I said, steer me back. But it's like I don't know. Maybe this is common. I think I remember people mentioning this. You don't know quite how to refer to the male figure in your life when that's the person that comes into question anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And it's like, and then when you start talking about it, like it kind of hits you right then, like, what do I say? I don't feel comfortable saying anything anymore because anything that comes out is going to feel so weird. So, all right, I call him my real fake dad. It's like the dad who I thought was my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can play every word in that phrase to make it fit the scenario, like my real fake dad or my real fake dad. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like the nickname that I gave him. So I live with my mom and who I thought was my father. And then I had an older sibling, a brother.
How was that growing up?
Well, they were married until I was about 4 or 5 and they became divorced. So I mostly like spent time living with my mom, and it was like I'm a 90s, 80s, growing up kid. So I saw my real fake dad like every other weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
then, life went on mainly in the house that I, was like brought home when I was born in and grew up in. And I stayed there with my mom and my brother. Eventually, my stepfather came into the picture and, like I said, visited my real fake dad every other weekend.
How old were you when you got your stepfather?
Soon after, he met my mom, came into the picture slowly. So I would say probably around 5 or 6 years old.
And as a child, what was your relationship with your parents like?
I visited with the person I thought was my dad every other weekend, and I lived in the house that I originally, grew up in and stayed there throughout my childhood with my mom and eventually my stepdad.
And your relationship with your mom was, you felt pretty typical.
Yeah,
It was good.
typical.
Yeah.
I have a very good relationship with my stepfather. He's very influential, important figure in my life. I'm glad I have him.
Okay, so now you mentioned earlier that right around 2020 during COVID time is when you found out you were an NPE. How did you find out?
So this is how I found out. My sister-in-law, she had suspicions about in her own life, and wanted to do the ancestry thing, like many, many, many people do. And it was just something I, heard, through the, goings on in the background. And eventually, in order to have some comparisons, my husband was approached to do a comparison sample. He didn't feel comfortable about it. So it went on for quite some time. And, eventually he did engage in it with her, because it's something that, that was desirable. Turns out they were full siblings. For whatever reason, I decided to do it to show solidarity for my sister in law because I knew emotionally how grueling it was. And for some reason, she wanted to do a different sample. I don't recall at this moment. I did it just as a one off, not suspecting anything, really just to do it for support. And lo and behold, I'm the person that won the bingo.
When you got your results, could you tell right away from looking at them?
Yeah, because there's that cognitive dissonance moment everybody has where you like try to tell yourself some far out story. In that moment, you'd believe every outlandish thing in the world because you're being so delusional for like a split second or like, or a moment that lasts. Who knows? Everyone's different. But I looked down at the results and I saw very close family friends listed as my relatives and, as ancestry. So I didn't really have any experience it before that. And I really wasn't that invested in it. And I said, oh, would you look at that? Here comes like the cognitive dissonance moment. It even knows who our close family friends are. Isn't that amazing? Wait a minute, what? And like it was kind of like that's when I had the moment of like, oh, I know exactly the whole thing. And this, it all clicked in. It's like they all the gaskets and the sockets and the cogs lock in and you're like, ah.
Mm, that is such a good way to describe that moment. Yes, exactly. I know
Mhm.
exactly what you're talking about. So, when you had that moment, who did you talk to? What did you do then?
I shall mention here in the background while, the moment I found out is going on. Remember, it's like COVID, right? And I lived in the mountains and I literally like on a mountaintop in, a way out rural area. It's COVID's going on. And I had broken my femur, Lily, in October, like right after COVID. And that, how we were saying it was about March when things went into shutdown in the area that I lived in.
Yeah.
And so we're in that full shutdown zone. And I was playing with my kids and their friends. And, we were, doing the pod thing that people do when you have little younger children that need to play and it's all happening. So we were outside playing and I happened to have an accident and I broke my femur. So I had to learn to walk again. I had a rod put in my leg. it was just a whole ordeal. I was in the hospital during the shutdown. It was just, lots of adventures and experiences there. And it was raining when I found out, so I'll tell you who I went to. And my children had a slumber party because things were starting to loosen up. And they were out. We had this little, like, tiny home, like this, like a shed that we, refurbished in the woods in our house. And it had a couch and a TV, and that's like where they had their, like, friends. And I went out to check on them because it was pouring down rain and it was getting really late, and I wanted to make sure that they were asleep. And that's what I checked I had a notification of an email, and I went, oh, there it is. I'm going to check it. And that's right when I found out. So I went inside, and I immediately woke up my husband and told him. This is like 1 o'clock in the morning. That's why I went out there, because I wanted to make sure that they weren't out there, bawling, because they were like 11. I think they were like 11 at the time.
Yeah. Oh, so you woke up your husband, and was it a notification from Ancestry, or was it an
Yeah,
email from a?
it was a notification from Ancestry. I mean, I can look back at it now. I mean, so much else has happened that, like, it's just far out. It's far out.
Yeah. In the days after that, did you speak with your family members or confront your parents about this?
Oh, at 6 a.m. That morning, I did. I was, just kind of waited for regular business hours to come about so I could make a call.
Did you call your mom?
I did.
How did that go?
I mean, it went about the way it goes with denial, and I mean, I had a few hours to think about it, when I found out, because I couldn't go back to sleep that night. And I think it's just like the type of person I am. I don't really want to cause people emotions or like things that are just so arresting and traumatic without, like, at least a little bit of care and some, like, very forthright language. You try to be supportive if they're able to, like, engage with you that way,
Mm-hmm.
and understand perspective. Everybody's perspective is different, and how they've experienced life through this type of, like, thing, the NPE, no matter what. And even, like, there's going to be some probably, negative intentions there that are purposeful. Even that aside, they're still people, and they're your people.
Yeah.
So I thought about it, and I wanted to just kind of be factual, not real overly emotion, about it, and go that route, and just try to listen to understand.
Yeah.
It didn't go so well, though.
Okay.
But at least I tried.
Yeah. You didn't get a lot of answers from her.
I mean, because of who it was, there didn't need to really be a, like, conversation about that, because of the obviousness of it for so many different reasons. I also had that experience where, like, I never felt like I looked like anyone in my family ever. And I saw a picture of my grandmother in her, like, late 20s, early 30s, and it looks so much like me. It's, like, astounding. And when I saw that picture, I almost, like, my knees buckled. Like, I almost thought I was going to pass out.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. It's crazy.
And so now that you know who your biological father was, did you think you resembled him as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody says so.
Oh. Is he still alive?
No, he passed away about 3 months before I found out.
Oh,
Mhm.
would you have spoken with him if he had
Oh,
been alive?
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh gosh, 3 months before you found out.
Yeah.
Did he ever know that you were his biological daughter?
Well, one can't be sure, but pretty good possibility.
So he still was in your parents' lives, your family's lives. He knew that your mom got pregnant and
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I knew him very well. I mean, you know what? The silver lining, or one of them, is the positivity of it. His personality and his character was very, very cherished by all in his family, his friendships, just people everywhere. I can tell I very much have a lot of I can see where my personality comes from now. But just also just like I'm very much I think like in that same characteristic of him, and it just makes so much sense now, you know?
Mm.
Yeah, he was just a very good person, and a lot of people liked the fact that they knew him and he was in their lives,
Aw.
myself included.
Did he have other children?
No, not that that one knows of, you know, but
Right.
no, I'm going to say no.
Now, how about your going back to your real fake dad, your birth certificate dad, your real fake dad? Did he know that the possibility that you weren't his biological child?
So, you know how you're saying, you know, who did I tell right away? And I was like, oh, I called at 6 a.m. the next day.
Yeah.
Well, I'm I'm a little different, you know. And I did a lot of my own detective work, and I like got on that immediately. And I'm you know how I'm an educator. I'm like what we call in the business an experiential learner. So I wanted to go face to face, eye to eye with as many people as I could reach and that were willing to chat with me. And like I said, I like to listen. I like to listen to people. I like people. I like to, you know, just hear them tell stories, and I like to listen to understand. And so I got on the road a few times and traveled around, and I ended up talking to my real fake dad about it. I think about a year after I found out. No, you know, somebody had to tell him, and nobody seemed to. And like, I just really felt uncomfortable about that. So one day I felt, I guess, motivated enough, and the creed in my heart was powerful enough that I just called and reached out to him. I don't really hadn't spoken to him in years, and I just informed him.
Yeah.
And then during that call, he told me he kind of always knew.
Oh.
It's good to hear, at least for me, for like
Yeah.
who I am. It's just good to hear the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely has an effect. I mean, no doubt, but it's nice to hear people actually saying things that are honest.
Yeah.
I like to live in the truth, you know?
Yeah. So you hadn't had a bond with him in years. Had he that had just kind of naturally gone away where you hadn't spoken with him?
Yeah, I guess you know, other reasons going on, you know, in the sagas of families.
Yep. Yep. I know there's a lot of very complex family dynamics I've learned.
Mm.
Is he still close with your older brother?
I'm not clear on that. I can't say.
But that is his biological son, you think?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. So the truth is out with your real fake dad, and you spoke with your mom. How about with your brother? Did you talk with your brother about this?
I don't have a relationship with my brother. So it's not something, no, I haven't really spoken to him in years. And so I like, you know, obviously I'm kind of private, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I have close friendships, I would say, very close friendships, people who can relate because of the experience, you know, that we have that really, really gave me a lot of support, you know, as I processed it.
Oh, that's so good to hear. So many people don't have the people in their life supporting them or thinking this is a big deal and trying to minimize it. So I'm glad to hear you had friends that were there for you.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I happen to have a very close friend with experience, and I think it just the fact that you can laugh together about it because they can because you know their perspective. I think it was just a luck of the draw. Boy, was I lucky for that.
tell me about some of the stuff that you have done to help with your healing around finding out you're an NPE.
I mean, so now what's it been? How many? It's like 4 years almost, right?
Yeah.
Almost coming up on it, really close. First, the first like 2 years, it's like you have like an identity crisis. It's like really hard to like even feel like you're real in a particular way, you know?
Yeah.
Like you go to work, you still hang out with your friends, raise your kids, like that stuff. Yeah. Some days it gets hard. You know, I think you go into shock about it and you process it, and it's hard to process. It's just it makes you think and ruminate so much, and you put things together, or you don't even know who you are because like maybe your culture changes, or it's heavy. A lot of that is heavy. A lot of people, when you tell them, like when you were saying, who do you tell? I don't like to tell a lot of people because whether people are aware of it or not, and I think a lot of it is just lack of perspective, because you can't really put words to how it feels, even though some people are very eloquent about it. They'll say something like, "Oh, well, you have a dad. You're lucky that you had that." Or they'll like give some sort of like tagline of why it's not really that big of a deal to you. And that like really hurts,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it's like a close person or a loved one. And like you want to know, like, oh, you want to tell yourself, oh, they don't mean it. They don't mean it. But it really can get you.
Mm-hmm. And I know other things come up in life as well. And then all of a sudden, the NPE event can even take a back seat to other more pressing matters in your life.
I don't know. I don't know anyone that's like years, like say like decade in. I wish I could talk to somebody like that sometimes because
Yep.
I always like to hear like, yeah, how much of your life does it matter now? I think it comes in and out.
Yeah.
I would say something that never truly heals. You just get used to it.
And so, for where you're at with your life currently, how is that for you?
Currently, and how I had mentioned before, and even like when I had first reached out to you, I think my life was like incredibly different then. And I
Yeah.
had no idea like what happened to me. It's like stuff got so much more intense in a way. And I don't know, I don't even like my husband passed away a year ago. He had Lyme disease.
Yeah.
um, and it went in neurologically, and it just systematically shut him down. Um, and we had right when it happened, I'd say 3 months prior to the symptoms turning into more of a dire scenario, we right after COVID, right, we moved to a different place in the country, like significantly farther away from our friends and loved ones.
Mm.
So, and the way Lyme disease takes someone is not incredibly go quietly into that good night of a scenario for so many reasons.
Oh.
That it's kind of like, that's why I mean, like, yeah, that happened to me, but man, there's just so much other stuff that happened that, like, everybody can get through it. Get yourself through it, like you can go on. Like so many other things that can happen that can really, like, ooh, you know.
And now you were recently widowed. I'm so sorry. And I'm assuming you're raising your children
I am. Yeah,
alone
I
now.
call
Oh,
myself Captain One and Only now.
Captain One and Only. Oh my gosh. Oh, Bertrice, that is so much. I'm so sorry. This so much has happened since you originally contacted me in this last year.
I know. So much has happened, and it all started with that femur break. I'm telling you.
Do you have any recommendations or suggestions for, say there's a new NPE listening today and they just found out? Do you have any words of wisdom to say to them?
I would say, like, yeah, it could be just because you get to talking to people, somehow or another, you make a connection with somebody, and I'm 4 years in, so you collect a few connections here and there, and everybody has like a different response to it and reaction because your life is so personal and so unique, and no one can really ever understand it other than you. And I think it's really important that you follow your heart and what your creed in your heart needs you to do. I think as time goes on, I keep coming back to I'm glad that I'm trying to do that as best as I can.
Oh, Bertrice, I appreciate you coming on, and I'm so sorry about everything you've gone through since finding out, and especially in this last year since you've been in touch. Because we're trying to keep your life anonymous right now and keep your privacy, we won't give any contact or email information for you. But if anyone wants to pass along nice, encouraging words to me at npestories@gmail.com, I will pass them along to Bertrice of episode 202. Thank you so much, Bertrice, for coming on and sharing your story today.
Thank you for having me, Lily.
These stories are here for us to identify with. If you are an NPE and would like to share your story, email npestories@gmail.com. You do not have to give any identifying information. If you are an NPE and would like to share your story, I'd like to hear from you. Subscribe to this podcast to hear more. Come heal with us.